Hello, everybody. Welcome. Sterling, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great.
Good.
Excellent morning.
You're willing to and open to sharing some tried and true insights in terms of lead generation and
Yeah, I think there's going to be some great stuff for people that not only that they could learn from, but also they could take with them and continue to grow their knowledge and move forward with from what we show them today.
cool. And Tash, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You're going to be called upon to speak to anything around lead conversion, specifically that chasm of death that sits where marketing ends and admissions begins.
Beautiful.
Where there's so much revenue is leaking. And so 9 ways to immediately increase lead flow during the pandemic. So the pandemic is a headwind, as much maybe not the pandemic per se, but what it's doing to labor markets, hiring markets, people wanting to go back to school, people retiring. The whole labor market is just moving and in flux. And as career schools, we have both challenges and a tremendous opportunity to go and really tap in to all this movement in the labor continuum. So we're going to go and give you some practical tips today. And so get your pen out or your pad or your Remarkable or whatever you may have, and just take tons of notes. And then at the very end, what we're going to do is, for those that are interested, we'll just show you some software that will create an immediate lift in your revenue, your lead flow off your website. You don't have to hang for that, obviously, but if you're interested, you can hang out after this presentation. So without further ado, we're going to move to the first tip. So what you see here is a website, and this website came into us a number of years ago. It had about a 2.5%.
Yeah, they talk about optimizing your website.
Oh, Jody, maybe you could ask all the folks to put themselves on mute.
There you go. Sorry, I had myself on mute right there. Yes, everyone, if you please wouldn't mind hitting the mute button, because although I know we are all looking at making this a great experience, sometimes things happen in the background that we can't control.
Like airplanes and Madonna is in the building or what have you. So let's proceed. So we're going to go through a number of these, and you guys, the first one is, let me just ask Tash this. Tash, if you're taking a brochure to the printer, would you take that brochure to the printer without your phone number on the brochure?
Oh, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So I think if the folks who are on this call go back to their website, some of you may find, Tash, that there's no prominent phone numbers, and given phone numbers convert at 15% if somebody phones in on an inbound lead. To me, it seems crazy. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you want the opportunity for live contact. Yeah, how much of us, get frustrated with all the chase, and here you got an opportunity to have it come right in at you.
Yeah. And they make people work their butt off to go and have the privilege of giving you $20,000 to go to school with them. That's sarcasm, by the way, everybody. So number 2, this is a bit of a head fake, and number 2 is actually not this headline, Sterling, but it's the word get. So folks, the story is that we tested, Katie Ellen Humphreys was testing landing pages, and she tested the word get the skills versus hey, become this, or different phraseologies to talk to people about getting into medical billing and coding as a profession, the word get. So Sterling, what happened to the unique visitor to lead ratio when Katie added in that word get to the headline?
Well, yeah, we saw a measurable, significant increase, and it's crazy because get seems like such a basic word, but it's a powerful word because it tells people, it's action word, right? It tells people what will happen. And just to take a step further, I love this headline too, because you're able to use the outcome in it, the program in it, while at the same time it's 100% compliant, because you're not guaranteeing anything. You're talking about getting the skills to be. Yeah. So that's another reason why that's such a powerful headline. You got the conversion improvement and the fact that it's so a strong headline that is 100% compliant.
Right. And so, Tash, what happens is there's the stat on that is it's 29 to 37% improvement in unique visitor to filling out this form on the right-hand top right corner. That's crazy, hey?
That sure is. And I think what you said that's so significant is that this is tested. And we make so many decisions and they're just based on our gut or instinct. And they're not based on science and data. And you know what you're seeing here, this is all science. This is all what actually happened and what actually worked. And that's powerful.
Yeah, for sure. So folks, if you put your phone number up on your website prominently, you use the word get, go through all your headlines and look for ways that you could use that word in a non-contrived way. And then over here on the form, this is what we want to add. At the very top, you want to add in, I want answers. You don't need the exclamation mark. And go white against red or orange, because we tested that. White against red or orange outpulls any other color. And if you ask me why, I have to say I don't know. But we do know through our split testing that it does outperform. Now look just below here, everybody. Number 4, what we've done here and tested, and this works really well. And I'm going to have to squinch up a bit because I'm the guy with the weak eyes here. So hold on here. Can I get financial aid? What are my career prospects? When does it start? You can have up to 8 of those in a drop down, and people can click on those multiple items. And then what happens is when they do that, they are more inclined to fill out the rest of the form and hit the I want answers button. Isn't that crazy? But it makes sense, doesn't it, Sterling?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's following that narrative, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And not just the color and the language, also the location.
Yeah. We use heat maps, and we found that the top right or the top left corner is the best place to have a lead form. Okay, let's go to number 5. Number 5. This lady, she's an attractive lady and she's got a lovely smile, but she's not a supermodel, you know, and what we found is these ad agency websites where they've pulled, you know, these supermodel people with gleaming teeth and guys with no body fat and all these and the actual, when they use those people, those perfect people in those photos, it actually lowers conversion rate. And the reason is 2 reasons. One is that we've determined, and one is a theory that we have at ER. And one is that this lady on this particular website, she's relatable. So she's a attractive woman and she's relatable. Whereas the ones that are super perfect, we had one of our staff say, you know, in my friend group, there's this one woman and she's perfect. And if we go to the nightclub, she gets all the attention. And secretly, we hate her for like a half an hour. And it's like, I get that. A buddy of mine, Paul, is like this perfect guy, and we'll go to the pub and we just sit amongst ourselves and play crib or something because he's just getting all the attention. We secretly hate him as well. So Sterling, you know, you're a relatable guy. Would you not agree with that? Or
well, Zach, well, the thing that's important to me is that the visitor or the prospective student is able to put themselves in the shoes of the person in the hero shot. So if the person's unrelatable, I can't picture myself in there. But if this person's relatable, I could picture myself there. And so ideally, the image would be people who are in your target market. And so the majority of people come, they'll look at them and go, oh, I could be there. So again, yeah, if it's a supermodel, not relatable, if it's something else where you are not even using a person, the hero shot, and going a different direction, that is also a negative. You want to be able to see their eyes because you can't relate to people without seeing their eyes.
Correct. And we have learned also through our testing in photos is that having one person looking at you it outpulls for sure. So there you go. Okay. Now, let's continue on here, gang. Here's a little clue in terms of the most important aspect in terms of graphic design is not the logos. It's not the fancy, beautiful little graphic production values. It's the layout, okay? And so if folks, here's a tip for you. If you want to hold your ad agency's feet to the fire, go to a bookstore, pick the magazines that you love that are really popular. Let's think Oprah magazine. If your target market are the people that read Oprah magazine or go online and go to the Oprah website, take that magazine because she spent literally millions of dollars to get the layout and the typeset optimized so that people will love to read her magazine. Now, with every major magazine, that has been done. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to get the typography right. And so rather than trying to make some stuff up, why not just take one of the top performing magazines in the world and just knock it off? So here's some little tips. I'm just going to run through them really quick. And then I think we'll move on, guys, because we have some really cool little tips to share in addition to this. Okay, number 6, right down here, you see caption. Underneath the photo, there's a caption. Now, don't ask me why, but when you put a caption under the photos in your website, more people will fill out the lead form, okay? Now, the purpose of the headline is to get people to read the subheadline. That's its only job. And that's item number 7. So, and the purpose of number 7, hands-on health claims clerk and medical coder training programs, is to get them to read what, Sterling? Number 8?
Yeah, well, the idea is that the person has to buy in to that so that they'll take the next step. So yeah, that's how you get them to go down to number 8 and actually consume the content.
It's like cooking the frog, right? So yeah, so there you go. You get your big headline, your eyes scan it, and then it's like down into the subhead and then the secondary subhead. And then from there, a high percentage of people, number 9, will start working in and reading the body copy. And then what you want to do, number 10, is you want to have what's called a section head every 25 lines or so, just to reinvigorate the reader with a new focal point, okay? And then we'll just finish with 11 here, is get info now. It was submit. We went through half a dozen split tests. Get info now is far and away the thing that gets people to click the most. White against red or orange. And why it's red or orange, Tash, I don't know, but there you go. So folks, take a quick moment and copy this. What is that? F6 on your keyboard, and then start chipping away on your website. This is our gift to you, and you will get more leads like tomorrow, today, tomorrow, if you do this. That's my promise. Okay? Okay, next slide. Tick, tick, tick. Tash, inbound digital leads should be treated like a phone call on hold. That seems like a crazy comment, but why don't you riff on that for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know a lot of the expressions, you know, first in the door, first to score, you know, first to contact, first to contract. So, you know, here you have an opportunity to jump on them. So how fast are you able to move them? Are you staffed properly when your lead flow's coming in? Do you have your reps staffed accordingly? Are you under a minute on leads generated to actually making the contact?
Wait. You said under a minute. That
Yeah.
seems crazy. Why don't you speak to that?
Sure. So how quickly are you pulling the trigger? And is it your admissions advisor? Do you have some specialized roles in there? Do you outsource and you actually have a vendor that's assisting you with this? Do you have a centralized call center if you're large enough? How quickly are you able to reach out?
I actually have a lamp.
So folks, those on the call that have not muted yet, if you could kindly do so, that would be lovely. Thank you. So, okay, so that like there's in San Diego, there's a company called Speak to Lead that is kind of like forces people to answer the phone on digital leads. We co-sponsored a study with Velocify a number of years ago, and the after I think it's 5 minutes, the conversion rate fell 400% after 5 minutes of a digital lead coming into your world. 5 minutes. That's nothing. So my partner, Shane Sparks, co-founder, he says that digital leads have the life of a fruit fly. And, the analogy is dead on. And so folks, give some thought to this. Here's a hack, and then we'll move on. The hack is this: have a cell phone, a dedicated cell phone, have an audible cue so that when the internet leads come into your website, it goes on to that phone, makes an audible cue. People pick up that cell phone, and it's like a dedicated cell phone for digital leads. And what you can do is take it home on the weekends, and the reps can take turns, and it works. It's inexpensive. It's just a cell phone, and it's extensively expensive. You can go and triple your contact rates. So right away, you do that today, tomorrow, you'll start to triple your contact rates with internet leads, digital leads. Okay. 3, the first meeting. So this is a lost opportunity. Pardon me. Encourage the explorer, which is what we call prospective students or leads, explorer, to bring along their support team to a Zoom meeting. So this is interesting. I haven't heard many people talk about this. Tash, you want to take a moment and just kind of, you've had direct experience with this in your career.
Sure. So, I think when we're simply face to face, and the objective was, and hit all your talking points on your phone script, benefit sell the value of the in-person tour. And then at the end of that, there was always a section on going after the buying committee and asking for a referral. And as we moved to virtual, a lot of that discipline went away. And we were able to engage with the prospective student right away. And we let go of some of our discipline of fighting the good fight to get the buying committee and get referrals, on that call. So, it's actually easier to get somebody to show up for a virtual meeting with whoever their significant others are in the buying decision, and with friends or other individuals. So are you inspecting that? Is that part of your process? Is that in your in whatever tools you're using to do your outreach?
So it could be something simple like, folks, this is Sally's, a big life decision for Sally. Cosmetologists have fantastic careers, and we expect you guys to be her support system as she dreamscapes and starts her new life here. Do I have your commitment? And so you kind of can do den mother with those family members, and And then we all know that like a third party lead generates around 1%, 1.5% conversion, whereas a referral from a family member who's on side, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or what have you, is up like 30 to 40%, right, Tash?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that takes a lot of pressure off of admissions reps if they can add additional referrals. Makes a lot of sense.
And, and I think we've seen start mix decrease with referrals. So maybe contactability's increased, but the referrals as a percentage of starts have gone down since we've gone virtual. And if we were disciplined, it would actually be easier to make it increase. And for some schools that are disciplined, or for some of your strong admissions advisors, that are just a cut above everybody else, that is the case. They're seeing their referral percentage of their start actually go up because they're not letting go of the reins when they're interacting with the student virtually. They're sticking to the flow and the disciplines and the best practices.
Cool. Okay, so Sterling, another area that's often overlooked is for various reasons, people have to leave school. They leave school because they're intimidated, they're scared, they're overwhelmed, they're bullied. There's logistical reasons. And often it's just like the school lets them go. And I think to Tash's earlier point, one has to be kind of fierce, and because you're fierce in helping people get a better life, help people go and create congruency between what they enjoy and what they do for work. You're fierce for them. And so taking the extra effort to reconnect and see if circumstances have changed. This tip came from Jody, who's on the call today. Jody just was doing some research, and she went, we really need to talk about this more. So Jody, thank you so much. Do you guys care to just talk on this for a moment? This is a way to improve things in the pandemic. Go ahead.
Well, what I feel about it is you've already spent whatever marketing on getting this person into your system, getting them into the school, and for whatever reason they don't continue. But you could, instead of spending money and effort getting new leads, go to these people, because like it says, their circumstance could have changed. At one time, this was the right fit for them. Something changed in their life, but it can be the right fit again. And it's more likely that someone who was a false start or went partway through and something changed, it's going to be more likely or a lot easier to get them to take that step again forward than a brand new lead from scratch, which you have to acquire through marketing. So if you have a number of these people, they should always have different touch points. You should be reaching out to them, connecting, and it could be just a quick little ask how they're doing, a quick survey, email touch points, but they're still viable. And again, it's a source of people who you've already spent the marketing to get. You keep trying to cultivate them.
Jody.
I'm sorry.
Jody, are you on the call right now? Can you unmute?
Of course I'm on the call.
Oh, excellent. Would you go so far, this is just a crazy thing, would you go so far as to bring a couple big grocery bags of organic fruits, vegetables, quality foods to that person who's disappeared, and knock on their door and go, I'm not sure what's going on, but we thought I'd bring you some food. Now, if they don't need the food, if it's all cool, it's like, what a nice gesture. And if they do need the food, right? Because they're starving students is not a saying that comes by out of vapor, right? So they're eating ketchup soup or too much or whatever. Jody, do you think that's crazy, or is that over the top, or?
Well, it's along the right ideas of what some schools are doing, figuring out why their students who quit. Sometimes it's been 3 years, 5 years, 6 years since they stopped taking the program. life changes. They get children, they get new jobs, they live in a new area. So what schools are doing is they're taking stock. They're going back to these students who quit to figure out what the barriers are, and within reason, schools are implementing different supports, whether it's a flexible start times, or sometimes like, okay, if you need to come back, we're going to tack this course on for free because we feel it's very important for you to continue this education.
Or here's a daycare credit we're going to give you, or here's an Uber credit we're going to give you so you can Uber to school, or because the bus routes have changed, and or who knows? But, and I wonder if, Jody, if that's the job of the admissions rep, to dig in and find out after the fact what's going on and see if you can use empathy to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to share a couple tips and a challenge. Okay.
Wait, hold on. I'm looking at our clock. You have an inventory of one tip.
One tip. Okay, structure it in, put it on the calendar. Whether it's your admissions reps and your phone blitzing it, where it's whether it's your program, leads, deans, whatever you're calling them, and they're doing the outreach. So it's coming from academics, not sales. Whatever it is, put it on the calendar, build it in. It just can't be ad hoc and part of what we do. Structure it.
Oh, that's an excellent, obvious, but not obvious tip. So I'm going to speak to this one, you guys. Green cherries versus red cherries. So often in education, particularly not-for-profit education, the way recruiters and what have you work is, visualize for a moment that you have a big forest of cherry trees, and the recruiters, they go in and they see a cherry tree and they raise it. In other words, they go in and they just pick everything off the tree, so that tree is barren. And so they take the red cherries, they put them in their baskets, they're all high-fiving each other, they move on, try to find another tree to ruin. But all those green cherries and the cherry buds that weren't quite ready to turn into red cherries are all on the ground, and they're not being fed by the tree, and they just rot. And what a shame. So would it not make sense to go and put a little picket fence around that cherry tree and attach a sentry and water and fertilize and nurture the tree? And then as the red cherries, they just drop gently from the tree, and then they get picked up. But that tree produces red cherries forever and ever and ever, just by taking a different approach. And so one can go, and one has to now really ascertain quickly where a prospective student or an explorer is in their journey. And there's a huge disconnect where these lead providers will go, oh, here's some leads for you, here's some leads, and the admissions people go, oh, leads. But 70%, 75% of those so-called leads are in fact poor explorers that are just doing research. They're just wanting information, and they are at the genesis of their journey. It's typically like a year and a half, a year and 3 months from when the thought of going back to school goes into their head to when they're actually ready to sit in class. And so if the admissions people, the recruiters, are trying to go and make that green cherry, that person who's just pondering a new life, a new career, make them do something they don't want to do through manipulative communication, whether it be written or verbal. So it makes sense to, in sales, they use the word qualification, but it is the good word. You stay objective, you stay bloody minded, you find out where people are in this buying journey, and then you deal with them with respect and empathy and consideration. don't want to make people do something they don't want to do. And people who are ready to go and entertain and go into the process are ready to do that. You just have to find out which path they're on. Another silly analogy I've heard is you don't pull carrots out of the garden to see how they're growing, right? And you do that, you get these stubby, useless little carrots. So
I'm guilty.
yeah, Sterling, you pull out the stubby carrots. So
I actually just last month I was looking at my garden. I was like, I don't know if the carrots are growing. I pulled one just to check, and it was like that big. So too early.
yeah, too early. Yeah, but if that was in terms of the economics of education, that little explorer is dead to you now. They'll
Yep.
say, I've had a bad experience, and they're never coming back. So you burned off a prospective
I
student.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final words on that? Is that crazy? Am I being stupid or no?
I think you're right on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Green cherries. Treat them differently. Okay. Testing ads. Always, always, always test ads, test ads. And so like back to, I'm just going to flip around. The word get is a test. We've given you some tests here that work, you guys. So the word get, putting captions under the photos, test. Switch out the supermodels for relatable people is a test. I want answers is a test, and so on and so on. So there you go. There's a few to start with that you could do with program pages, websites, landing pages. And if you have a marketing companies attached and they say, oh, we're rather into the big idea rather than testing, man, my advice is run like hell, because they're not servicing you. They're not serving you properly. Split test. So here's one that's to do with phone messages. And so you guys bear with me and then weigh in and tell me if I'm nuts. So you have an admissions rep, and they typically, let's just pick a number, say they're making 30 outbound phone attempts a day. I'm just making that number up. It could be less or more. And so they leave voice messages, right? And they just are pell-mell, arbitrary voice messages. Sometimes they're in a good mood, sometimes they're in a bad mood, sometimes they're clever, sometimes they're not. And it's kind of uneven. It's a mess. And so what if one had the discipline to take one approach with voice messages and leave 100 voice messages and then collaborate how many people actually responded, okay? And if you do that, different voice messages, different approaches, 6 or 7 times, you'll find that 5 to 10% more people will return the phone calls. Now, you go, big deal, Greg, it's 5%. Well, Dash and Sterling, Jody, let's do the math. 30 a day is 660 attempted phone attempts in a month, and 5% improvement is 33 what I would call synchronous conversations. And we all know that synchronous conversations, it's about 1 in 7 of those conversations turn into a student, versus 1 in 30 where it's 1 in 50 when it's going back and forth by email. So it's a real game changer. So what is 15% of 33? That's like, call it 4 or 5 students a month per rep that you'd normally not get by just simply split testing your voice messages. Crazy? Jody? No? Okay.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Yes.
My wife was searching technology to see if she could put a mute button, like an implant, on me, so she could just shut me up when she,
Oh,
happy wife.
Greg, I can't comment on that.
Happy wife, happy life. Okay, so the other thing I'm gonna talk briefly about, and we can get into this later, if you want to set up a little 20-minute session with one of us. Here's a formula that works really well for creating really good communication. So you start, and I don't have examples here, but happy to do so later. You start by provoking. Oopsie. You provoke and then you agitate to go and really articulate the problem or the agitation or the frustration someone's feeling. Often like with massage schools, an example would be there are people working in offices on their ass all day in the insurance office, going crazy, crushing their soul. Okay, that's an example of provocation and agitation. So wouldn't it be better to be doing something physical, healing people? That's the solving the problem. And then you have to, because people generally believe that advertising is dishonest, you have to prove. And one place to go is like the Department of Labor in the US. They have what's called ONAP, and they say, you know, and you can bring up stats and say massage therapists on average make this much money. The Department of Labor anticipates 138,000 massage therapists will be needed in the US in the next 5 years. And their quality of life is reported in at 8.7 out of 10. And so those are proving points. Closing point, ideally, is phone and ask for Sally Anderson, and she'll be happy to send you her free career starter kit. It's much more prevalent, it's much more connecting if you ask people to phone in. And a little trick is Sally Anderson is a name, and then the person who answers says, oh, I'm sorry, Sally's not available. I'll get your information and they'll get you out that starter kit. And then you just go and you can actually count up all the times that people ask for Sally. Now that's old school, you guys, but that's a formula to create a killer ad. You take that formula and start playing with your landing pages. You can have, if somebody comes in for a visit and you have a letter from the president, 4-page letter, just rolling this formula 4 or 5 times, you'll have tremendous upside. Okay. So this is from Tammy Miles, who can't be on our call today. Sterling, you can speak to this. If people have a finite budget and you're on Facebook or Google Ads or what have you, you want to turbocharge the budget. And so if you can't increase your budget, what you do instead is what, Sterling?
Well, you want to filter out the low quality traffic, because even a good paid search campaign, you're converting at maybe 10% of traffic, which means 1 in 10 people that you're paying for is becoming a lead or an inquiry. So you think about that, 90% of those people aren't converting. And what we want to do is we want to make our...
Well, wait, let me jump in. So what is the correlation if 90% aren't converting against like weak, watery, crummy keywords or phrases? Is there a correlation there?
Yeah, there's definitely a correlation. If you're using the wrong keywords, some keywords are great for driving traffic, but not conversions. So if you go into Google Analytics or Google AdWords, you can see keywords that might have tons of traffic. You might rank very competitively for, or you're paying for them in the ads, but they're not converting. So why pay for those if they're not converting? So it's a great way to refine. Also, I like to use my ad copy to be exclusive. I don't want it inclusive. When I have an ad showing, I pay money every time someone clicks on my ad. I don't want the ad just being as inclusive as possible. Everyone click this ad and it's cost me money. I want the ad to be exclusive. I want people to read it and qualify themselves out. So the ones who are actually high quality and of value are the only ones clicking it.
So then what you could do is have, if somebody has a finite budget and they have 120 keywords that they're running, let's say with Google, you get rid of the 80 of the really weak ones that create traffic but don't convert to people viewing the ad or creating an inquiry. Then you double down and put all that what you have into those 40 keywords. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, the 40 keywords are converting. Then you could build on those. You could look at more iterations of them, build upon them, go a little deeper, go into your search term report, which is a search terms that actually trigger the keywords that you're bidding on, and look at what's there and try to build upon that. One of the things I always would do when managing paid search is look at the last year and depends on your sample size, maybe even a couple months is enough data. But I usually look at last year and just all keywords that had more than 100 clicks and no conversions. And if there's no conversions on 100 clicks, that's a good sample size. That's might be enough for me to say that.
So
that
you're
keyword
just saying
doesn't convert well.
You're just saying get rid of them.
Get rid of them. If you think it's a great keyword and it's driving traffic, then take another step and add negative keywords to the ad group so that it doesn't show when in conjunction with the negative keywords. Or you could bid it down and try to work on the ad copy and try to make the ad copy more exclusive. But that's why I try to target. I target the things I could try to eliminate that won't hurt performance.
Here's another little side tip. All those top performing keywords that convert, use some of those phrases where you can in the pages in your website. That's called in-page search engine optimization, because they convert well, Google will pick up, like for instance, if you can take a top performing keyword, get the skills to be a webbing and a phlebotomist, and you can use that on a landing page in a subhead or what have you, Google will reward you for being relevant. And so that helps with a little bit of your, and it's an easy thing to do. That's like a 2-hour project. So, all right. So saltpeter compacted into a little tube makes dynamite. Focus the saltpeter. Otherwise, if it's all sprinkled around loosely, you put a flame to it and it crackles and sparkles, but it's useless. Okay, the last one here is a bit in the weeds, but this is something this is really important. So if there is an intake of, let's say 20 people for a class, I'm just making that number up, and the break-even point, ensuring that your advertising budgets are not crazy, is 12 students, okay? Then you have all kinds of things you can do that are inexpensive, like a number of these we've just gone through, optimizing your website, using things like Craigslist to promote start dates, things that are what I call guerrilla marketing, referrals. That's what Tash spoke to. So once you hit those 12 students, you know that that hotel is breaking even, but there's still a whole bunch of hotel rooms that are vacant. So the question is, you can have a really low advertising rate as it relates to your P&L, and forego a bunch of opportunity in not having all those seats full. Or you can kind of split it into two, and you're going to go, I'm going to have inexpensive marketing tactics to get to my break-even point. And once I hit there, then I'm going to look at things that are going to really make my advertising budgets go high, like radio, time-sensitive radio campaigns. Okay, this is a bit controversial, but taking on people who really want to go to school but have weak FICA scores, because you know that there's going to be bad debt. But if you have a $20,000 program and you have with those remaining 8 students that you fill up, I'm going to use that example, you lose a third. Now that's going to hurt your regulatory ratios if you're doing Title IV funding. But point being is, would you rather have $12,000 for 8 students of those vacant chairs, or would you rather have 100% of nothing? Or conversely, like the bringing a student in aboard by way of radio could be like $4,000 or $5,000. So is $15,000 times 8, and it kind of butchers your marketing budget? Or is it better to have 100% of nothing and have those ratios look really good? So what do you guys think? This is our last tip for the day. Anyone want to pipe up on that one?
Well, I think once you're past break even, of course, that changes, how you're dealing with risk. and you have more wiggle. You have more, you can experiment a little bit more. You can try, a few different things, where when you're not at break even, it's just so, that's a very different feeling.
Yeah, it's a different feeling. Yeah.
And it certainly creates top-down pressure, when that's happening.
Yeah, and you hear these horrible terms like asses and glasses people and all this kind of awful stuff. But I think to your point, Tash, is that okay, here's the ethical point. You bring on people with low FICA scores, but who desperately could benefit from the improvement of the quality of their life by having a better career. But it's going to hurt your stats, as it relates to repayment rates, cohort repayment rates, and all that stuff the pinheads and government foist upon the schools. I obviously have a bias in that regard. Or so you don't want that grief. So what you do instead is you load on radio advertising, because at least then they're not going to hassle you, but you're not going to get those people that actually need the education. So it's an ethical consideration. Hey, Jody, Sterling, you want to weigh in on that?
Well, Jody?
No, you go ahead, Sterling. I was working on some back-end logistics here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I was actually waiting on something else because of time, Greg. I was going to say, Jody is right to submit a survey for everyone quickly, just asking what was your favorite tip. So we'll be doing that shortly, just so everyone could just say it. But
okay, well, that's a good dodge on my ethical question. Let's go and do that. Let's do our poll, Jody. Do I bring this back to you, or here it is. Okay, everybody, on 3, let's go and vote for your favorite thing. Now, while we're voting, I will say that if any of you have any questions and you want to book a time, 20 minutes or so, just to riff on a question that you might have, or clarity on anything you've learned, beyond any questions that we take at the end here, there's over 60 ways that a school can leak revenue in the enrollment management funnel. These little leakage points are everywhere. Visualize a hose with little holes in it. And every hole that you patch improves the water pressure in terms of the viability of your career school. Because you have to stay viable, you have to stay afloat, you have to have high water pressure in order to help people improve their lives. So that's one thing to ponder. People are different now. Explorers. Before it was, oh, there's an ad. Oh, I pick up the phone. Oh, there's a 5-minute little thing, and then come in for a meeting. But now, half of that whole enrollment funnel, from marketing into admissions, is people do it on themselves. They're on review sites. They're calling their friends on Facebook. They're contacting alumni, all without the admissions rep having a clue what's going on. They're halfway through the funnel already, and the poor admissions rep has to sort of unspool some of those incorrect assumptions that they've built up through their own research. That's why remote admissions is absolutely crucial. So at the end, for those that are interested, Sterling's going to take you guys through a little 5-minute user experience demo on Virtual Advisor. But in the meantime, we're going to share the results of our poll. Hey, Jody?
Yes. And if we have a couple of time, it looks like optimizing your website was one of the ones that people found most interesting. Not sure if you want to take a couple minutes. I know we only got to about number 11. Maybe we can finish numbers 12 and 13.
I think what we'll do, Jode, is we'll just take people, they can contact us, and rather than doing a theoretical thing, we'll actually go through and analyze their specific website, and just
Great idea.
They can just take notes, and they can either do it themselves or we can help them, either or. I think that's a better way to go.
Yeah, just everyone, you could, we'll put our emails down and just email in if you want us to do just a one-on-one session. I'll do a quick little audit of your website for you and just let you know quick little wins that you can do to improve it. So yes.
Jody, any questions in the chat bar before we say goodbye?
No, actually, we were having a great chat about different websites and CRMs back in the chat, which is why I think Sterling and I were a bit distracted.
Okay.
Wonderful. So yes, if everyone wants to take a peek at the chat, we were talking about small schools and CRMs.
Okay, so this is the break point now in the formal part where we've taught you guys some stuff. And those that are intrigued about our virtual advisor software, it's about 120 school systems we have on it, and it works quite well. You know, those that aren't interested, we'll see you guys again soon, or I'll see you at CAPS with Scott Spitolnik in California, or at the Orband user conference later in October. But if you guys want to get a quick demo, feel free to hang out, and we'll see you again. I hope you've learned some stuff. Thanks so much.
All right. So
all right.
What I'm going to be bringing up for you guys today is the virtual advisor and the main core pathway, the career readiness quiz. So all of you who are current clients of ours are still on this, you know what this is because you're using it. For everyone who this is the first time or one of the first time you're seeing it, I'm going to just do a quick little 5 minutes on showing you what it is and the value of it. So what you see right now doesn't mean anything. It's a splash page, but what it is it's the actual login page that someone would engage with when they see this on your website. The way they engage with it is just the same as the websites we showed for the optimization. It's one of the elements that we have in the optimization now, and it would be a link in multiple parts on the website that would say something along the lines of, is a career in XYZ right for you? Take the quiz to find out. Or if you're a school that has multiple programs, it would just be as career education right for you. But if you have specific programs for your school, we could be more specific with those call to actions. And then someone clicks on this and brings you to this quiz page. And so what this is an engagement tool where the student clicks on it because they want to get more information. It's generally finding people in the middle stage of the buying process. So someone who has a basic question generally go towards a contact form or a contact us page. Someone who's deep in the buying process is ready to apply or enroll would go to apply online, enroll now, or maybe even book a tour. This is for the people who are in the middle stage, which my data shows is around 30% of people, but only represents usually 10% of leads on a website. And the reason is because most websites underservice these people. So when you have a call to action to speak to them, these people who normally in the middle stage get underserviced and leave your website, they actually have a call to action that they engage with, which is this right for you? Because this middle stage is generally people who have an intrinsic internal question about if they're right for this or if this is going to be good for them. So just keep that in mind. You have someone who normally would not have even filled out a form on your website because you don't have a call to action to speak to them. These are actual additional leads, or I don't even like to call them leads because they're such higher quality. We call them registrants. So I'm just going to fill this out as if it's me and use even my personal email for this and then get started. So as I get started here, it starts loading the actual pathway for me to answer my questions. But if you can see over here, this is the virtual advisor backend user interface that all schools have access to. And of course, you only have access to your own schools. And here's me taking the quiz right now in real time. So as you can see, we've already collected my name, email, phone number. So this is what constitutes an actual lead. We have everything that constitutes a lead. Plus we go a step further and we pull in any social media accounts that are associated with the email address. So here with my email address, I have a LinkedIn account. I can even click on this and I'll load my LinkedIn account. So you can learn even more about the student before reaching out. And then taking a step further, pulled my profile picture in. And so if they have sharing set for that, it could pull the profile pictures in and you know so much about this person. And I haven't even filled out anything in the quiz. If I decide to quit and I don't want to complete it, our data shows that someone who starts the quiz, even if they don't complete it, is 27% more likely to enroll than someone who fills out a basic contact form. And the reason is the person who starts this quiz or pathway they have higher intent. Even if they don't follow through and they drop off early, their intent was there and they took a deeper call to action. So just the nature of them starting this, they're 27% more likely to enroll. So yeah, anyone who bails out early is still high quality and a great person to reach out to. But I'll take you through the actual quiz quickly. I only got a couple minutes and we'll show you the end result. So the secret behind the quiz is not only are we learning about the student, and the student is going to learn about themselves and if they're a good fit for this program, but the secondary secret is every question is secretly a piece of information that helps the admission reps. And then we train the admission reps before going live on a sales training on how to use the information to give you an advantage when reaching out. So I'm not going to go through each question because there's a lot here, but we're learning about where they are in their buy-in process. Now we're learning about what pain points are in their life. They're working and these are pain points of their job. Learning about the competition. Did they inquire with ABC school down the street? And we actually get level of urgency. Then we go into a quick little thing on their what goals they have. This is pretty straightforward, but I love learning goals because I drop these on voicemails. If I have to leave a voicemail for someone, I'm going to use their goals as my hooks on the voicemail because they should resonate because they're things they actually identified. And then we get a quick little DISC test or Myers-Briggs. It's really just a personality assessment. And I want to show you this because when we do that, the student learns their personality. I learned I'm amiable. But really the secret behind this again is as an admission rep, we in our client knowledge base have techniques for selling by personality or social style. So now that I know this person is amiable, here's a quick little sheet that I recommend all reps have on their desk because you could quickly look at the do's and don'ts when you call them, but we go into much more detail. So a rep now knows so much about this person. I know their personality. I know what their goals are. I know where they are in their buying process. I know what pain points they have that might prevent them or be able to use to motivate them to move forward. So now we go through the back end of this. We're just wanting to mine for what features and benefits do they care about. This allows a rep to know what to talk about on the call and what not to, because I won't mention features they don't care about. This is more of a qualification step. Let's learn when they graduate or if they even have a GED. Transportation might be applicable, children, anything else. Some schools ask about like criminal records or anything like that. Whatever you need to know about them, this is that step. And then finally, we're just going to find out who we want to invite along. As we mentioned earlier, always invite supporters along. And then we ask a final few questions, which always should be asked, like, well, what might prevent you from moving forward? Is anyone not supportive? So as we finish this, and I just want to let you know, this has an 83% completion rate. So 83% of people who get here, 83% of people who start it get to this page. So we only have 17% of people do not complete it to this point on average. So now this is where the 83% of people got to, and they get a score and a real readiness report. It provides them information about them, about their next steps, their type of learning. It's all about them. It does more than just regurgitate their answers. It actually draws conclusions, and it can actually draw some sophisticated conclusions, as well as recommending different programs and doing a lot more critical thinking. But for the nature of this one, it's just a report telling them about themselves. Here's their social style. And as you'll see at the top, it congratulates them and prompts them to book a personalized tour. Again, this would be whatever the school is. It could be a career planning session, it could be a Zoom call, it could be whatever you want to call it. And this is actually one of our biggest split tests. At this point, a few years ago, we would prompt people to take the next step. And it used to just say, take the next step and book a tour. And 45% of people would do that, which is awesome because this is the call to action. So this is where we expect people to get to. This is all we can ask for in the link they clicked. Anyone who does anything further is a bonus. So what we had was 45% of these people who completed would book a tour. And so we did a split test. We congratulated them because the scores are actually could be true scores, but no school wants to give negative feedback. So we have it sort of like the score is relative, and it generally is pretty decent. So because we know that, we just change it to congratulate people on their, and they qualify for personalized tour. And when you click through to the next step, we keep that narrative talking about the personalized tour, custom campus tour, and we take everything that's done in a normal tour and make it so they're checkboxes. So someone gets that illusion of customization. Well, what that did was increase the rate of people booking tours from 45 to 60%. So that's a 33% increase. And that also proved to us that people trust the scores because of so many people booking the tours. And yeah, so that was just a really big split test, very successful. And if you do the math, 83 times 60 is 49.8, if I'm right. So that is the amount of people when they start this pathway who end up booking an appointment or tour with the school at the end. So it's roughly half. So you have half the people book a tour, 37% of them, 33% of them end up just getting a great report, and you've built trust and quality with who you can call to do a review of their report. And only 17% don't complete, but that 17% on average are more likely to enroll than your normal leads. So yeah, so at the end of this, they could pick when they want to come. And this could be all based off what the school wants. It could be check boxes for days of the week. It could be open-ended. It could be a calendar, whatever you feel makes it easier for your students or prospective students. So I request an interview for tomorrow, and I confirm my information was correct, and I could submit this and book my tour. And so up in here, when you're watching me take this, it now completed. And as it completed, it tells me when they ask for the tour. I have all this information. So as an admission rep, I sit down, I consume this information, I really build what my first point of contact is going to be, how it's going to be the most impactful first point of contact, and then I make my reach out. And really, knowing this, we just have to confirm the appointment. And I actually had one of my clients tell me this is a layup. You could just call them up, they requested it, you just repeat the times they wanted, and boom, they agree. So yeah, that's the full process front to back. If anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask right now, or you could follow up and shoot me an email at sterling@enrollmentresources.com, and I could always walk you through a personalized one and show you it in more detail. So yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen. If anyone has any questions, let us know. I know we're over time, so everyone who's still here, thank you very much for going over. It's more than we can ask of you. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot us an email if you'd like to learn more. Otherwise, thank you very much, everyone. And hopefully you guys learned something great here.